I'm Kerry Fink with Helping Seniors of Brevard, and I am so glad you are here for this particular edition of Helping Seniors Update. As you know, Helping Seniors is now 13 years serving Brevard County. Joe Steckler, our president and founder, who got the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation rolling, and also after he retired from that, Joe is 90 now and still working every day in the world of helping seniors. But even 13 years ago, when I met him, he said, Kerry, we got to do more for seniors because it's such a challenging landscape out there, and senior navigation is what it's all about. So I am so excited because I have a date you want to be sure you get on the calendar. It's Thursday. It's April 25th, and it's going to be held right here in Melbourne at Ascension Catholic Church. And this event was terrific last year. If you were there, you already know what I'm talking about. And if you weren't there, listen up, because you're going to really want to make sure this is on your calendar. I am so fortunate to have the privilege of visiting with Gary Barg, who is Caregiver Today publication, but also literally you scour the country bringing this Fearless Caregiver conference. Literally, you've been it sounds like you've been coast to coast. And thank you for bringing this back to Melbourne, Gary.
Oh, I've been looking forward to it. We love the Melbourne event. This is our 11th year coming to Melbourne and supporting the Melbourne caregiving community. Basically, one thing I love about Melbourne is it is such a community. There are so many different organizations out there doing their darndest to reach the caregiver. And what we try to do with our Fearless Caregiver Conference is help that caregiver become an equal member of the care team, the Fearless Caregiver. And so we bring everyone together for the day at the lovely church. And we call it the no PowerPoint, no speechifying, no pontificating zone. We put experts like yourself, attorney, doctor, all sorts of folks on a panel, two panels. And then we ask the caregivers to let at them, to ask them their questions, to interact. There's no speeches. And what happens is the caregivers will explain their situation. Hopefully the professionals will have some good advice. And then we've seen it turn around where the caregiver will raise their hand and say, hey, that situation this caregiver has, I've been through it, and here's what I did. Yeah. And that's a secret sauce. To me, it's all about sharing wisdom, that you could be in a room, any room, emergency waiting room at 3 a.m, and there are family caregivers around. Those are experts in care. They know something about caring for their loved one that may be a piece of the puzzle you're looking for. So our whole idea is to have a day of shared wisdom. The caregivers teach the experts teach the caregivers, and the caregivers teach each other.
Yeah, it's so powerful, Gary, because I had the opportunity to experience this last year. And what I love, first of all, you're a terrific moderator, how you interact with both everybody who is there participating as caregivers in the conference. And then, like you said, with the panel who's, maybe trying to answer the questions, and you really facilitate a really great ongoing discussion. And I'm smiling because as you're talking about it, we use this line locally all the time. We say, we know the expression, it takes a village to raise a child, but in our experiences, we keep learning. What we're trying to do is the Helping Seniors charity locally, is we really believe more and more that that's true, that you have to have good resources, good connections, good people to talk to, because it wears you out. As you know, I remember you talking about your own personal history. I remember asking you how you got into this in your own personal history. It wears you out if you're the caregiver and you feel like nobody else is necessarily going through what you're doing. And yet, I think that's so powerful that when you bring these people together, everybody is helping everybody solve these problems that we're facing together, Gary.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And my story is, I got into caregiving the hard way. My dad retired in 90, developed bone marrow cancer immediately, and mom became, loving spouse of 50 years and family caregiver, and all that encompasses. encompasses. And so I was a caregiver's caregiver. I was there to help support her as she supported first my dad, then my grandparents. And I think you find that everybody's caregiving story is important.
Mhm.
Everybody has a caregiving story. You know, it's like Mrs. Carter said, if you're either been a caregiver, you'll be a caregiver, you'll know a caregiver, or you'll need a caregiver.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Well, let's talk about the day itself. I remember that you make it a public service because instead, I'm sure there would be a great opportunity because the information is so valuable to like charge an admission or things like that to an event like this. But you make this possible. You actually make it a treat for the caregivers. You not only allow them to register if they're a caregiver and don't charge a fee, but you even make sure lunch is provided. And it's just such a great morning out. Talk about that.
We never charge a family caregiver anything. They've got enough on their plate. And then speaking about on their plate, we make sure that they get lunch as well. But the idea is you come, you bring your questions, you bring your body of knowledge, you bring your love, and you may or may not ask anything. You may or may ask 10 things. It's about servicing the family caregiver. What do you need when you come to this room with powerhouses like yourself of caregiving who are sitting there going, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? I'm not here to give a speech. I always say to panelists, I don't know if you remember this, but if we're talking more than we're listening, we're losing.
Yep.
We have to listen. We have to interact. We have tables with a lot of information, a lot of expertise. But the idea is that the people in the center of the room, the family caregivers, are really the people we're servicing.
Yep.
Folks that are there to hopefully learn and share and realize they know the more than they think they know. And how empowering it is when you think, oh, I don't know what to do, how to do any of this. You walk in and the caregiver has a problem and you can answer it. That's brilliant. That's motivating. So the answers come from somewhere. You bring your questions, we'll bring the answers.
Now it's really a wonderful morning out. And tell me if I have the times right. It begins at 10 o'clock in the morning, Thursday, April 25th, and it wraps up around 2 p.m. And again, it's really kind of a complete deal because you make it available to the caregivers at no charge to them. Lunch is included. I think you had last year. What I remember was you had so many great exhibitors in place with good information that was there to support the caregivers in their efforts. How does somebody register for this? What's the way that they would? Because I guess you need them to RSVP so you know how to plan everything accordingly.
Exactly. Well, our website is Caregiver. Couldn't be easier. Caregiver, one word.com. Or you could call, if you like telephones, 954 362 8126. And the lovely Kathy Bird will walk you through it, get you signed up, and make sure you're confirmed. So that's 954 362 8126, or just come to caregiver.com.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that, especially Gary, after having had the opportunity to personally be there last year, I am also sold out for this because this is such an important morning. When you take the time to equip yourself, you'll find solutions you never even imagined that will make the burden a little bit easier. And it's just so important to learn what's out there. We use a couple of things, Gary, in our Helping Seniors world. We talk about we sort of jokingly say what Helping Seniors mission is to help you get your ducks in a row. It's kind of like Joe calls it an aging plan. We say we just want to help you get things lined up in the best way. And Gary, a couple of corollaries that we've added to that. One is so appropriate for this. We said, don't try this on your own. There are so many good resources, but if you don't know that they're there, It's like Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director, says, how do you know what you don't know? You've got to ask somebody who knows and get in that conversation. And that's what this is all about. Fearless Caregiver Conference, Thursday, April 25th. I want to give you the last word to make that invitation. And thank you, Gary. I know your schedule's busy. You've been crisscrossing the country and setting these up. Thank you for the good work that you do on all of this.
Well, thank you for what you do in Melbourne and in other communities. It's just wonderful. You need to replicate yourself. We always say that the family caregiver is the CEO of Caring for My Loved One, Inc. You're in charge. You know, if you decide you don't want something, it's no social worker, no care manager, nobody's going to talk you into it. So the idea is to equip you as well as we can with all the information, support, advice, and the contacts. One thing I love when we go in a community, a lot of times I'll see people making contacts with each other, and I thought they would know each other by now. So you never know. It's a work in progress. But you are the CEO of Caring for Your Loved One, Inc. You are the most important person in the life of your caregiver, and we are going to do everything we can to make your job easier, more manageable, and more successful.
Great. Well, one more time, caregiver.com. I remember that, but let me have you say the phone number if somebody prefers to register by phone, because again, it's free, but you got to get this on your calendar and you got to call in. April 25th, Thursday morning, Ascension Catholic Church. They make a beautiful room available. So there's plenty of room for everybody, for the exhibitors, for the conversations, everything that happens that day. But one more time, that phone number, Gary Barg with Caregiver.com.
954-362-8126.
Good. We so look forward to seeing you Thursday, April 25th at the Fearless Caregiver Conference. And thank you, viewer, for joining in for Helping Seniors Update. We'll see you soon.